The Phoenix Suns are going to make roster changes this offseason. With Matt Ishbia, Mike Budenholzer, James Jones all wanting this team to compete and be the best that they can, they're going to make tweaks around the edges to give this big three their best option of winning an NBA championship. And one of those players that could possibly be moved is Jusuf Nurkic. So we're going to be diving in, looking at some articles talking about a new Jusuf Nurkic trade being possible, and if so, is this the best move for the Phoenix Suns? All of that and more on this episode of Suns Digest. I'm Bruce Veliz. Before we dive in on all of this Phoenix Suns news, though, the number has been dropping, and CJ and I really do appreciate it, but 91% of you guys who watch our videos are not subscribed. And if you guys want to make sure you stay up to date on daily Phoenix Suns content, on all the news, all the drama, this is the place for you. So hit that subscribe button as we try to get to 1,000 subscribers. You guys have been already fantastic. We already have 600. We're just 400 away from hitting our goal. Without further ado, let's dive into the video at hand. Make sure to grab a snack as it's going to be a jam-packed episode. And like I mentioned in the introduction, we're going to be discussing a possible Jusuf Nurkic trade. Now, obviously, the Phoenix Suns, a 49-team win last season, they want to do better. They want to be atop of that Western Conference. And with this team having very, very strict roster capabilities because they are in the second apron, it is going to be tough. Paying Devin Booker, paying Kevin Durant, paying Bradley Beal each $50 million this year is going to be tough on the books when the salary cap is $189 million to be underneath in the second apron, and you're already at $150 million just to three of your players. Therefore, the Suns are going to have to work around the edges and move some of those guys, and the next highest value contract is Jusuf Nurkic, making around $18.7 million. So we're going to be diving in, looking at some articles here, possibly at does a Jusuf Nurkic trade make sense? Now, obviously, we're going to be diving in and looking at this first. Nurkic carries an $18.2 million salary for the 2024-2025 season, so his salary would be more valuable in a pursuit of finding a quality rotation piece while attaching first-round picks compared to Nazir Little. With the Suns' limited assets to improve their roster, Jusuf Nurkic is a potential trade candidate to monitor, wrote Evan Sidery on Twitter. And if you guys have been following our channel, we've already broken down some possible trades for Jusuf Nurkic, CJ, and I. But here's kind of diving in and looking at, is this the right decision? Is this going to be the smart decision that the team makes? So obviously, Phoenix is unable, as we know, being in the second apron, to take back more salary than they send out, but they could send out Nurkic's $18.2 million figure alongside the number 22 overall plus a 2031 first, and that could net them a big difference maker. Now, obviously, a team that's looking to take on Jusuf Nurkic's contract is going to have to be a team that has a lot of salary cap. So if the Phoenix Suns are looking to move off of Jusuf Nurkic, teams like possibly the Spurs or the Pistons or the Magic or the Thunder, who have this abundance of salary cap, could trade and take on a guy like Jusuf Nurkic before the salary cap resets. That would allow the Phoenix Suns to clear that $18.2 million off their books, possibly bring in a cheaper guy in as that replacement, and then allows them to have the mid-level exception, allows them to not have to just try and vet minimums, allows them to be possible buyout candidates in the end, throughout the entire season. Or they could trade Jusuf Nurkic, attaching those picks and getting a guy in value back that is better, something that fits their needs a little bit better, which we'll be diving in a little bit as well, looking at Jusuf Nurkic's stats and seeing what do the Suns realistically need at center, and is that Jusuf Nurkic? But now we're going to kind of dive in and look at, ultimately what has to happen. And ultimately it comes down to how much a team values the picks, as Nurkic holds some value in capacity. Would a team such as the Orlando Magic view the pick in a strong enough light to be willing to part with a core player such as Wendell Carter or Jonathan Isaac to acquire a player that won't address floor spacing concerns? The question also still remains for squads such as Atlanta, who could be looking to start fresh with their number one overall pick, currently expected to be on a used big man Alexander Sarr. Would Atlanta consider moving Onyeka Okongwu, a player that shows promise but has yet to take the next step to clear some room for their presumed top draft selection? Ultimately, I don't think either of those teams are going to help out the Phoenix Suns, in my opinion. If we want to look at these trades first, the Wendell Carter or possible Jonathan Isaac would be a smart move for the Phoenix Suns, bringing in a guy like Wendell Carter or Jonathan Isaac. Wendell Carter being that floor spacing big who has some youth movement to him, or even Jonathan Isaac, a nice wing defender. But ultimately, They both have had injury concerns, and we know what this Phoenix Suns team with last season, with Devin Booker, with Bradley Beal, we've already had our injury run. So do we want to bring back even more guys who are injury prone, especially Jonathan Isaac? I don't know. And would even Orlando want to entertain this? They already have, Franz Wagner. Would they want, Mo Wagner? Would they want to bring Jusuf Nurkic to be that replacement for Wendell Carter? Do they think that Jusuf Nurkic, really takes that ladder and sets them over the top compared to Wendell Carter? I don't think so. For that first round pick, for that draft capital, maybe. But this Magic team is not a young team that wants to have these diamonds in the rough. They want to have these really good role players already with their squad because they already have their young guys in Paolo, in Jalen Suggs, in Franz Wagner that they can build around and have to pay for in the future. So ultimately, looking for more young talent isn't what I think the Orlando Magic realistically want. I think they want some proven veteran players. Same thing with Atlanta. Obviously, they're going to want to look possibly to take Alexander Sarr. That is the rumored number 1 overall pick at this exact moment. But possibly moving off a guy named Onyeka Okongwu, I don't know. I feel like Onyeka Okongwu is their big man of the future. They possibly want to move off a guy in Clint Capella. Then even if they do bring in Jusuf Nurkic for a guy in Onyeka Okongwu, then they still have Clint Capella on their roster alongside Jusuf Nurkic, and both of those guys around making $18 to $20 million. That is even scarier for the Atlanta Hawks, having two guys on basically expiring deals making $20 million. Yeah, it can help you out in the free agency if you just want to leave them and dump them, but if you want to get some value back for them, you're going to have to look to move off of these guys at the trade deadline, and it just complicates even more things for the Atlanta Hawks, because then they have another center to just trade off of from bringing in Jusuf Nurkic. So ultimately, would Onyeka Okongwu help out the Phoenix Suns, and would he be the best move possible for a Jusuf Nurkic trade? I think so for the Suns, but ultimately, I don't think that the Hawks are going to do it. Maybe if they attach some picks, they could get some value for it. But ultimately, I think that both teams are going to say no to the Phoenix Suns. And that is kind of scary. Trying to find a deal for Jusuf Nurkic might be harder than we expect as Phoenix Suns fans. But let's look at another article from Sports blog talking about to trade or to not to trade. This is Jusuf Nurkic question. Obviously, we want to dive in. A lot of Suns fans in the comments have been 50-50. And truly, I'm 50-50 as well on a Jusuf Nurkic trade. There are things that he brings that helps out the Phoenix Suns. But there are things that need rebounding that he doesn't really excel in that I think the Suns need a little bit more of. We want to look at this article. 49% say to trade him. 51% say to keep him. So that, like I said, basically a 50-50 stalemate, and it's really, really hard to decide, is this the right move to move off of? Could he be a center for the future to fit in with guys like Durant and Booker, or do we need a better center for our system? We want to look, we can see finishing around the rim, he was atrocious for the Phoenix Suns, but in playmaking, he was very, very solid. So Nurkic brings some decent playmaking, but some horrendous finishing, and that's not what the Phoenix Suns want to see. They need better finishing at the rim, as we saw versus the Minnesota Timberwolves series. We struggled with that. The only time we really dominated in that is when Karl-Anthony Towns in Game 2 had some foul trouble, and in Quarter 2 they absolutely feasted down low. But besides that, every time they were getting dominated down low. So they need a presence down low in the paint, and they also need some better rebounding down low. They need a true rebounder, a guy who can go out there and get 8 to 10 rebounds a night for this Phoenix Suns squad. And ultimately, Jusuf Nurkic cannot do that. Now, this article proposes a little bit of a different trade. CJ and I have been talking about possibly getting a point guard for this roster. And this trade proposes Jusuf Nurkic for Josh Giddey, obviously doing a little bit more of a salary dump here. And then it asked, would you do this 1-for-1? Would you expect more of a draft capital in return? How would you feel? Ultimately, I think that the Suns would have to get some draft capital in return taking on Josh Giddey. He's a name that's not really wanted across the NBA due to his recent allegations, even though they've been thrown away. Still, the allegations still rumor with the name, and honestly, he's a young guard who is going to be getting a payday soon, so the Suns will have to pay him in the future if they do trade for him. So you are having to bite that bullet, taking that away from the Thunder, but at least you're getting a young point guard for the future and a guy who can kind of seamlessly fit in with this squad, set up this offense, really blend in alongside Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. Ultimately, I think it would be a nice addition, but truly not the addition, again, that the Phoenix Suns need. Out of looking at all these trades, ultimately, I would have kept Jusuf Nurkic for all of them. If we have to give up both of our draft picks or to get one of those guys, ultimately, I'm not doing it. I'm not trading for Wendell Carter. I'm not trading for Jonathan Isaac. I'm not trading for Onyeka Okongwu. I'd rather keep Jusuf Nurkic and wait and see what we can get for him in the future. Possibly move off some other guys like Nazir Little, move off of some of our player option guys, see what vet minimum guys we can bring in to see how our roster fully looks, and then ultimately we can make that final decision. Do we want to move off of Jusuf Nurkic, or do we want to keep him? I'm in that 50-50 boat. If we can get a real rebounding center, 100% do it. But if we cannot get a true rebounding center, do not do it. That is my stance, my way of breaking it down. I want to know your guys' thoughts. I want to know how you guys feel about this Jusuf Nurkic trade. Do you guys think it would be smart for the Phoenix Suns to move off of him? Or do you guys think that the Phoenix Suns should hold on to him? He is not the problem, and that there are a bunch of other issues with this Phoenix Suns roster. Like I mentioned, drop down your thoughts down below. I love reading every single one of your comments. Sorry I've been MIA for the past couple of videos. CJ has been doing a fantastic job taking over and delivering for these videos, but I'm back. We'll be doing some videos here and there, maybe some more duos with CJ. We'll have to wait and see. You got to get in some coordination with that. But like I mentioned, if you guys enjoy the content, if you guys enjoyed the breakdown here on Suns Digest, make sure to check out the videos linked up top and hit that subscribe button as we're pushing for 1,000 subscribers here. You guys have been absolutely crushing it over the last couple weeks. I'm Bruce Veliz. Want to say peace out. Have a great rest of your day, and go Phoenix Suns.